Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you a comparison video today of all the first takedowns in Adidas' current lineup. This includes the Absolion, the F30, the Nitrocharge 2.0, as well as the 11 Nova. So we're going to discuss what the differences are between them and hopefully allow you to pick the best one based on your budget and what is a good value overall. I did this recently with all the Nike takedowns, so if you want to check that video out, I'll leave an annotation on screen. But without further ado, let's get right into the comparison. As I've mentioned in past videos, not all of the Adidas takedown models are great when it comes to overall quality, and unfortunately I can't recommend all four models. So that's how we're going to split up this video. The Adidas takedowns that I can recommend and the Adidas takedowns that I can't recommend. Starting off with the two shoes that I can't personally recommend, we have the Nitrocharge 2.0 with a retail price of $100 US and the Adidas F30 with a retail price of $110 US. Now guys, please keep in mind this is nothing that I have personally against Adidas. I think that all of their top end models at this point in time are really good, better than they've been in years in my opinion, and like I said, the performance is definitely there. But when it comes to their takedown models, the quality that they are offering and the price that they're charging, to me, is just not fair and not something that really compares well to other shoes within the same price ranges. And I don't like to talk about prices too much in my videos, simply because when I'm reviewing top end models, the price isn't as relevant because you're buying that top end model to get the best of the best in terms of performance based on what that shoe has to offer. And whatever you have to pay to get that top level performance is, like I said, more or less not relevant to the shoe itself. But when you're dealing with a takedown model where the goal here is to provide a shoe that's decent quality within a certain price range, you have to consider the other models that are available in similar price ranges. And both in the case of the Nitrocharge 2.0 and the Adidas F30, when you're in that $100 to $120 price range, I don't think that these two shoes are ever the best option. In fact, not even close. Now, starting off with the Nitrocharge 2.0, for your $100, you're not getting a lot in terms of overall quality. The synthetic they feature on the shoe is, for the most part, very cheap, surprisingly cheap for a $100 shoe. Same with the material here on the instep. It's stripped away of most of the significant features of the top end 1.0. You do get some protective mesh on the outside of the boot, none on the instep, and you get those pads here around the Achilles tendon guard. But other than that, nothing about the 2.0 is at all similar to the 1.0. You don't get the energy sling, you don't get the energy pulse, you don't get a sprint frame, you don't get an external heel counter. The fit of the shoe is not nearly as good as what you're going to get from the top end 1.0. You don't have the pads in the forefoot. The laces, you can tell, are even very cheap, and the overall construction of the shoe is just nowhere near up to par with what you're going to get for that top end model. So for $100 US, something like the Nike CTR 360 Trequartista 3, the Tiempo Legacy, just to name a few, are significantly better options that you can actually pick up for less than $100 in comparison to the Nitrocharge 2.0. Now, the Adidas F30 is another story altogether. This is, in my opinion, one of the worst values and one of the worst shoes currently out there on the market. I know it's a very strong opinion and it's somewhat harsh, but honestly I think it's an opinion that needs to be shared with the world. If you're buying a pair of F30s, you really need to rethink how you're buying your shoes, because the quality of this shoe for $110 is absolutely atrocious. You get an incredibly cheap synthetic material. It's basically like a spongy stuff. It's not very good at all. The fit of this boot is incredibly flawed. The heel area is so shallow and it offers such an odd feel, and it just doesn't fit properly. You're going to get really bad heel slippage. The sole plate is awkwardly stiff. It might look good, but it doesn't feel good at all. And for the most part, for $110, you're not really getting much at all. The quality isn't there. The synthetic is very cheap. The fit isn't very good. You don't get a sprint frame. It's part of the F50 line, but it isn't lightweight at all. So again, for $110, I really don't see the appeal of the F30. And in a shoe, for a shoe in that price range, you can get much better options. If you want something lightweight, if you want something high quality, a shoe that comes to mind is the Nike Hypervenom Fatal, which you can pick up for around the same price and is leaps and bounds ahead of the Adidas F30 in terms of overall quality. So do I recommend the Nitrocharge 2.0 or the Adidas F30? Really, I don't, not under any circumstances. Even if they were much lower in price, I just don't think that the quality of these two shoes is up to par with what other brands have to offer. The next two shoes in Adidas's Takedown lineup are shoes that I can actually recommend. We have the Adidas 11 Nova, which retails for $75, relatively inexpensive, and then you have the Adidas Predator Absolion LZ2. Now this shoe retails for $120 US, which is honestly on the higher end of prices as far as takedown models go. But I have some things to say about that, which we'll get to in just a second. Starting off with the 11 Nova though, for $75 you're getting decent quality. You have a predominantly natural full grain leather upper, and the quality of the leather is pretty good. The synthetics they use on the instep as well as on the tongue are honestly a little bit cheap, but for the most part the fit of the shoe is pretty good. They're comfortable. You get an outsole that feels very similar to that of the top end 11 Pro model. So for the most part, if you can pick these up for $75 or even on sale for a little bit less than that, you're looking for something that's cheap but still going to offer some pretty decent quality. The 11 Nova, to me at least, seems like a pretty decent option. Now when you're talking about the Absolion LZ2, like I said, for the full $120, that's pretty expensive for a takedown model. And the quality of the synthetic upper is really my main gripe with this shoe. It isn't horrible, but it isn't fantastic either. Again, it's more of a spongy base, similar to what you're going to find on the F30, but to me it feels a little bit softer, and the overall shape of the Absolion is a little bit better. It feels more comfortable. It feels, for the most part, fairly similar to that top-end LZ2 model. Of course, you get all the same lethal zones that you would find on the top-end model as well. So for the most part, the touch on the ball, the sensation of having that extra grip that you get from the top-end LZ2, you're going to get from the Absolion LZ2, which is definitely a very good thing. It does not feature the same sprint frame, so for that reason, it isn't quite as flexible, and it definitely isn't as lightweight either. But for the most part, if you want something that feels like the LZ2, the Absolion LZ definitely will provide that for you. Now, like I said, for $120, it's kind of on the high end of prices, and considering that you can get the top-end LZ2 on sale for anywhere between $120 and $140, I think that you really have to make the right decision and take a look at all your options before pulling the trigger on a takedown model, because for the same price you might be able to get an older colorway of the top end LZ2, which is a significantly better shoe when it comes to the overall fit and quality of materials, for, like I said, pretty much the exact same price. So I can recommend both of these two shoes, given that you get them at the correct price, not necessarily at the full retail. Alright guys, that's it for my comparison of the entire Adidas Takedown lineup. I realize there were some very strong opinions in today's video, but before you leave a negative comment if you disagree with me for whatever reason, take this into consideration. The main reason why you buy a takedown model is because there's something about that top end model that interests you, and it might not necessarily be in your budget range or your price range, which is why you're buying the takedown. But if you're looking at a takedown model, no matter what the brand, no matter what the model, really consider what you're getting for your money. If I'm looking at that top end F50 Adizero, I like it because it's light, I like it because of its fit, I like it because of its barefoot sensation that you get when playing. But when I look at something like the Adidas F30, what am I getting that is similar to that top end F50 Adizero? And if you ask me, the answer to that question is absolutely nothing. So really, at the end of the day, what are you paying for? You're paying for a shoe that offers nothing like that top end model other than an appearance, and the quality of the shoe just really isn't up to par with other shoes in that price range. And again, if you're looking at a takedown model, have an open mind. Take a look at everything that's available in that price range at that point in time, and that's really where you're going to get the best bang for your buck. Just don't settle to pay retail price for a takedown model, because more often than not, that is not going to be the best value for you. So if you are interested in purchasing any of the shoes you saw in today's video, there will be buy it now links down below in the description, so be sure to go ahead and check those out. If you have any questions regarding anything that I said in today's video, again, leave those down below in the comments. If you have any suggestions for other videos you'd like to see featured on the channel, leave those down below as well. I'm always open to hearing what you guys suggest as far as content is concerned. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.